If I told you that the core beneath your feet wasn't just molten metal spinning in darkness, but a living pulse with intent, would you still feel safe walking on the ground you trust every day? Seismic data around the world has revealed something strange, something that shouldn't exist if Earth were merely a lifeless rock. Some tremors follow a rhythm, and not just any rhythm, they follow the Fibonacci sequence. This sequence appears everywhere in nature, from the spirals of galaxies to the arrangement of sunflower seeds. It is the hidden mathematics of life, growth, memory, and structure. But deep underground, in the fiery shadows where no life should think or organize, this pattern keeps returning, as if something down there is counting. At first, scientists dismissed it as coincidence, but coincidence doesn't repeat globally. Coincidence doesn't appear in controlled deep seismic sensors placed in Antarctica, Africa, Japan, Chile, and the middle of the Pacific Ocean, all detecting micro-tremors separated by intervals like 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. Coincidence doesn't sync across tectonic plates that don't speak to each other. Something was driving this rhythm, and the deeper sensors went, the clearer the pattern became. The source wasn't the crust or the mantle, but somewhere deeper, somewhere ancient. Imagine Earth like a heart. The crust is nothing more than skin. The mantle is muscle. But the core? The core behaves like a beating chamber. And every beat, every seismic pulse is a number in a sequence nature never uses accidentally. The Fibonacci sequence is a growth language, a blueprint, a signal. So what does it mean for a planet to be pulsing like it's counting? Some theorists believe it could be a natural emergent behavior of rotating matter, interacting with gravity and magnetism. Others argue that no geological system should ever generate Fibonacci timing on its own, unless there's a memory or coordination behind it, something that monitors its own cycles. There is a theory quietly circulating among geophysicists and metaphysicists alike, a strange collaboration that normally never happens. The theory says, what if Earth's seismic Fibonacci pulses are not random, but intentional? What if Earth's core is aware not in the human sense of emotions, but in the ancient way a star or a black hole might hold a purpose? What if the core is calculating? If this pattern is a countdown, then the question becomes chilling. Counting down to what? Some point to magnetic pole reversals. Throughout history, Earth's magnetic field has flipped many times, and the process is chaotic, marked by weakening shields and increased cosmic radiation. But here's where the pattern gets disturbing. The last major pulse shift aligns mathematically with the Fibonacci interval, leading into the current weakening phase of the magnetic field. That means the core's rhythm isn't just random motion, it's synchronized with planetary scale changes. Other researchers noticed something unsettling. Animals sensitive to geomagnetic lines behave differently during Fibonacci pulse periods. Whales beach themselves in synchronized clusters. Birds lose their migratory routes. Even humans report vivid dreams, anxiety spikes, and a strange sensation deep in the spine, as if something under the surface is whispering. What if what we call instincts are simply our nervous system remembering that the planet beneath us is alive? Let's imagine Earth not as a silent host, but as a cosmic organism, a being older than every species it has carried, a being that stores memory in heat, magnetism, and rhythm. If this seismic Fibonacci pattern is communication, then perhaps humanity has never been separate, just unaware. But here's the part that keeps researchers awake at night. The intervals between pulses are shrinking. Not dramatically, but precisely mathematically predictable, like the closing ticks of a clock. Pulses that once spanned years now come in months. Some predict the next step will be weeks. If Fibonacci is a countdown spiral approaching a final zero, then the end of the sequence isn't silence, it's transformation. A chrysalis doesn't crumble, it reshapes. A galaxy doesn't collapse, it becomes something else. So, the question isn't whether Earth will change, the question is whether we are supposed to witness it. What if the Earth isn't warning us, it's preparing us? Or worse, what if it isn't preparing us at all? Maybe the planet isn't asking permission. Maybe it's simply following its own internal program, one it has repeated across epochs. We are temporary. The core is eternal. We measure our existence in centuries, the core measures in cosmic breaths. Some believe ancient civilizations knew this. The Mayans, the Dogon tribe in Africa, Vedic astronomers all recorded cycles tied not to the moon or sun, but to the heartbeat of the earth. Structures like Göbekli Tepe, Stonehenge, and the pyramids align not just with stars, but with deep earth resonance frequencies. It's as if early humans weren't predicting the future, they were listening. What if earthquakes, volcanoes, storms, all the violence we fear are not destructive expressions, but necessary biological responses? Just like fever purges infection, tectonic shifts may purge imbalance. If so, humanity may not be the master of this world, but a temporary guest living inside a body we don't understand. Now, imagine something even more unsettling. What if consciousness isn't exclusive to brains? What if the universe allows awareness to emerge from scale, not structure? A neuron fires like lightning. Lightning arcs like synapses. The mantle flows like neural pathways. The core spins like a generator. The earth may not think in sentences, it may think in cycles. And if so, we are not separate observers. We are cells inside a thinking, evolving being. Some remote viewers, psychics, and mystics dismissed for centuries describe the same vision. A great pulse rising from the core that will reset human perception, memory, and identity. Not an apocalypse, but a reboot. A synchronization between biological consciousness and planetary consciousness. Science won't accept it. Religion won't declare it. But the data keeps building. Maybe the Fibonacci tremors are not noise, but organization. Not chaos, but intention. Not warning, but awakening. Some researchers running machine learning models fed decades of seismic pulse data into neural networks, asking the impossible question, predict the next signal. The results shocked them. Not because the model failed, but because it produced a repeating logarithmic spiral signature identical to the Fibonacci golden ratio, as if the algorithm recognized a voice pattern in the pulse, a signature, a fingerprint. What if the Earth's core is not just reacting, but broadcasting? Imagine a radio transmitter deep beneath us, using pressure waves instead of sound, using timing instead of language. A message so large-scale that only a species capable of mathematics, memory, and global communication could decode it. That means the countdown may not be geological, it may be directed specifically at us. And here is the darkest possibility. Maybe the message is not a warning. Maybe it's a question. If the Earth is conscious, then we are part of its awareness. Our cities are like neural clusters. Our internet a primitive planetary nervous system. Our wars, pollution, inventions, and discoveries signals the Earth observes and integrates. If the pulses are accelerating now, it may mean the planet has reached a decision, moment, a threshold where evolution must change direction. Some believe the next Fibonacci convergence may trigger a magnetic field restructuring. Others think it will activate dormant biological codings within humans, unlocking memory or perception we once had but lost. But there's another possibility, one humanity avoids because it shakes the core of identity. What if we are not the final species, but the catalyst for the next one? What if the countdown marks the end of humanity, as we know it not by extinction, but by metamorphosis? A caterpillar never understands the cocoon. To it, the process feels like destruction, dissolving, breaking apart, ending. But to the butterfly, it was becoming. So the next time the ground trembles beneath your feet, don't ask what caused the earthquake. Ask instead, what is the earth trying to say? Because maybe, just maybe, the pulse isn't shaking the world, it's knocking. And the strangest part? Some people feel it before instruments detect it. Sensitive minds report a ringing sensation in the bones, a pressure behind the heartbeat, a vibration like distant thunder without sound. Children especially notice it. They pause, look downward, and whisper things like, the ground is humming. Parents dismiss it, but sensors later confirm a pulse perfectly aligned with the Fibonacci rhythm. So maybe the countdown has already begun, not in the machines, but in us. Maybe the Earth isn't waiting to speak. Maybe it has been speaking all along, and only now are we finally learning how to listen. If this is true, then everything we know about life, evolution, and existence may shift. We are not separate from the Earth. We are expressions of it. And when the final pulse arrives, humanity will either understand what it meant or become the reason the countdown existed in the first place. Until then, the rhythm continues steady, rising, inevitable. If the Earth could speak, what would its voice sound like? A thunderstorm? A volcanic roar? Or something softer, quieter, more deliberate, like a heartbeat echoing through the planet's magnetic veins. Over the last few decades, scientists monitoring the geomagnetic field have discovered something that doesn't belong to the world of randomness or geological chaos. The magnetic field, which shields us from cosmic radiation and solar winds, sometimes pulses with perfect rhythm, not erratic, not accidental, not geological noise, but patterned like a heartbeat. These magnetic intervals rise and fall in carefully measured timing, repeating again and again with a consistency that feels biological. They are slow, powerful, and unnervingly precise. They move like breath, like life. Some researchers call it geomagnetic resonance. Others call it Schumann rhythm anomalies. But a growing group of silent, uneasy scientists have given it a far more unsettling name: the heartbeat of the core. Every living thing has a pulse, a signal of balance between inner and outer forces. A pulse is not random. It is communication between parts of a system. So, if the Earth is pulsing, then the natural question emerges: who or what is doing the signaling? In medical science, a heartbeat maintains order, distributes energy, and coordinates the organism. Without rhythm, there is chaos. Without pulse, there is death. So what if the magnetic pulses we detect are not geological leftovers, but intentional cycles? What if they regulate the planet the way a pulse regulates a body? What if Earth's core generates these intervals because it is alive in a way we've never imagined? To understand how strange this phenomenon is, imagine a magnet the size of a planet beating like a heart. The outer core is made of liquid iron, constantly moving, swirling, generating electricity and magnetism. But movement alone cannot create rhythm. Rhythm demands pattern, and pattern demands memory. The magnetic heartbeat intervals don't just repeat, they evolve, shift slightly, adapt. Just like the heart rate of a living organism changes based on internal or external stimuli, Earth's magnetic pulses change depending on solar storms, lunar cycles, and even mass human activity. During major global emotional events, wars, mass fear, mass celebration, the magnetic field shows subtle but measurable deviations. It is as if the planet is listening. That idea was once laughed at until data proved it repeatedly. During the global lockdown period, when billions of humans were unexpectedly silent, grounded, and disconnected from their normal chaotic movement, the magnetic pulses became stronger, clearer, more synchronized, like a voice no longer drowned out by noise. Some theorists say that means the core may be responding to emotional signatures. Others claim the core is sending signals, and we only noticed because the noise of civilization paused long enough to hear it. Either way, silence revealed communication. Now, imagine for a moment that these pulses aren't just biological but purposeful: a message, or a countdown. Heartbeat intervals usually serve one of three purposes in biological systems: regulation, signaling, or preparation. So, which one applies here? Let's explore the first possibility: regulation. The magnetic field protects life. Without it, solar radiation would sterilize the planet, oceans would evaporate, and DNA would mutate uncontrollably. A pulse may be a self-regulating mechanism, a way for Earth to maintain magnetic stability. But here's the disturbing part: the intervals are changing. They're getting faster. Just like the heart rate of a living being increases during stress or anticipation. The second possibility: signaling. In the animal kingdom, heartbeat patterns can carry communication, warning, bonding, coordination. If the planet is signaling, who is meant to receive the message? Humans? Life itself? Or something beyond Earth entirely, something cosmic? Consider this. The magnetic pulses synchronize with solar cycles, and the sun synchronizes with galactic cycles. It's like nested rhythms, heartbeat inside heartbeat, like everything is part of a larger breathing organism. The Earth may not just be alive, it may be plugged into a universal network of rhythm and consciousness. And then comes the third possibility: preparation. In biology, a heartbeat accelerates before transformation, before birth, before death, before awakening, before metamorphosis. If the Earth itself is preparing for something, then everything living on it will feel the shift physically, mentally, and spiritually. Some people already do. Many experience ringing in the ears, but not hearing loss. Others feel a pressure in the chest, a strange inner vibration, or a sense that time is moving differently. Some wake up suddenly at night without explanation, as if responding to a call they don't remember hearing. Animals sense far more: birds altering migrations, bees shifting hive patterns, reptiles changing behavior, deep sea life relocating. Life is reacting, even if humanity isn't fully aware yet. One chilling discovery came from deep-sea cables that detect magnetic fluctuations. They recorded pulses aligned with exact time intervals, like a perfectly measured beat. Not geological, not random, not accidental. Heartbeat, interval, pause, repeat. If this rhythm increases, one of two outcomes may be waiting. Either humanity synchronizes with it, or the system resets life until something compatible emerges. Because if Earth is conscious, then evolution is not blind, it is directed. Ancient cultures may have already known this. Indigenous tribes spoke of the Earth breathing beneath them. Tibetan monks meditating in high altitudes claimed that they could hear a low-frequency hum, something older than language. Egyptians believed the planet had a spiritual core, a heart of fire where the will of the gods resided. And nearly every ancient civilization described cycles, ages, resets, suggesting they believed Earth enters transitional states. Science now sees hints of what myth once whispered: magnetic field weakening, unprecedented in recorded history, the North Pole drifting faster every year, auroras appearing in unusual latitudes, solar wind interacting with the field with greater intensity, all while the heartbeat intervals accelerate. Some think the Earth is preparing for a magnetic pole shift, a natural event that happens every hundreds of thousands of years. But if the pulses are intentional rather than mechanical, then the shift may not be just a physical event, but an evolutionary trigger. Imagine your phone rebooting. The screen goes dark. Systems reset. Memory reconfigures. Then it restarts, not broken, but updated. The Earth may be heading for a reboot. The magnetic heartbeat intervals could be the core gathering energy, stabilizing internal structure, or finalizing a process long in motion, a planetary metamorphosis. So, how does humanity fit into this? Maybe we're passengers, maybe we're collaborators, or maybe we're catalysts, the acceleration of intelligence forcing Earth to evolve faster. Humans have become a global neural network, billions connected digitally, thoughts traveling faster than lightning, ideas replicating like signals across synapses. The internet isn't just technology, it's a simulation of brain architecture, and Earth's magnetic field interacts with neural activity. Meaning, your brain is never alone. Every thought, every emotion, every fear or intention sends electromagnetic signals into the field, and the field responds. So, if the magnetic heartbeat is rising, perhaps the planet is waiting for humanity to realize something. Connection. Not just with each other, but with the world itself. When a baby grows inside a womb, its heartbeat eventually synchronizes briefly with the mother's. Not forever, just long enough for the bond to form. What if humanity is in that bonding phase now, learning to hear, learning to respond, learning to synchronize? The heartbeat of the Earth may be calling us not with words, but with rhythm, and rhythms change when something is about to begin. Some people fear this. Some feel awe. But the truth is simple. The Earth is not silent. Its core pulses like a heart. Its field resonates like breath. Its timing shifts like anticipation. Something is coming, not suddenly, but inevitably. The heartbeat grows louder. The intervals shrink. The rhythm tightens. The question isn't whether the Earth is alive. The question is whether we're ready to awaken with it or be swept away by the pulse when the final interval arrives. They say every myth has a birthplace, a memory, a wound, or a warning. And long before science existed, long before satellites measured the planet's magnetic heartbeat or seismic rhythms, ancient cultures whispered the same terrifying idea in different languages. Something enormous sleeps beneath us. Something alive. Something waiting. They called it many names, not a god, not a demon, but something older than creation itself. A presence buried in the deep heart of the world. And no matter where humans settled mountains, deserts, islands, or frozen tundra, the story appeared again and again. The sleeper below. In Mesopotamia, the oldest written civilization we know, clay tablets describe a colossal being resting under the earth. They said it was not dead, but dreaming. Its movements caused earthquakes, its breath created winds, and its turning body shifted mountains over generations. The priests believed one day it would wake, and when it did, the world would change, not end. not burn, but transform into something unrecognizable. Across the ocean, in ancient China, the myth took a different shape. They spoke of Tao Ti, not just a monster carved in bronze, but a symbol of a buried mind beneath the land. Scholars believe Tao Ti was the consciousness of the earth, silent but aware. Some temples were built directly over fault lines because monks believed tremors were messages, not punishments, but signals, a language too ancient for humans to fully interpret. The indigenous tribes of North America tell stories of a stone one, or sleeping grandfather, deep below. They believed the earth was alive, but not awake like a great animal resting with one eye partially open. They warned that angering the land-stripping forests, poisoning waters, digging too deep would stir the sleeper. And when the sleeper stirred, balance would be restored by force, not negotiation. In Norse mythology, beneath the roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree lies the great serpent Nidhogg. Not just a monster, but an entity that gnaws at the foundation of existence. Some interpreted this as chaos trying to rise. But a forgotten translation suggests something else. Nidhogg is not destroying, it is waiting, dormant. Guarding something beneath the tree, perhaps guarding its own awakening. Far south, the Australian Aboriginal Dreamtime speaks of the rainbow serpent. Not merely a creation spirit, but a colossal being that sleeps underground and shifts only when the land itself requires change. When it moves, rivers are carved, mountains rise, deserts bloom or die. The elders taught that humans walk upon the back of a resting creature, and every step should be taken with respect because the boundary between sleep and waking is fragile. In Hindu cosmology, the great being Shesha, the cosmic serpent, lies coiled beneath reality itself. Even the gods rest upon it. The world exists while Shesha sleeps, and when Shesha awakens, one age ends and another begins. The Sanskrit texts say, "When the sleeper stirs, consciousness expands." That line has haunted philosophers for centuries. In Japan, a myth speaks of Namazu, a giant catfish living beneath the islands. They said its movements caused earthquakes. But a lesser-known version of the story says Namazu isn't chaotic, it's restrained by ancient forces until a destined time. A time when its awakening will realign the world, not destroy it. Even the Mayans, masters of astronomy and time, carved images of a sleeping being beneath pyramids. The glyphs describe a cycle, sleeping, stirring, rising. They believed humanity would eventually hear the sleeper again, not with ears, but with something deeper, a biological memory, an instinct older than language. So why did all these cultures separated by oceans, eras, and beliefs tell the same story? How did tribes with no communication imagine the same terrifying idea? A hidden consciousness under the earth. Perhaps because humans didn't invent the idea, they sensed it. Some say our ancestors were more connected to the planet, not spiritually, but biologically. Their bodies felt tremors we ignore. Their nerves responded to magnetic signals we've learned to drown out with machines and noise. Maybe the myth of the sleeper below wasn't metaphor. Maybe it was memory passed through instinct. Modern researchers studying geomagnetic anomalies found something strange. During certain underground magnetic pulses, human brainwaves shift automatically into theta frequencies, the same state associated with deep meditation, ancient ritual, and dreamlike awareness. It's almost as if something in the earth can influence the mind, as though a voice is speaking below consciousness. If these pulses resemble a heartbeat, then maybe ancient cultures were not worshiping gods. Maybe they were listening to the rhythm beneath their feet. A rhythm they interpreted as breathing, sleeping, waiting. But here is where the myth becomes unsettling. Across civilizations, there is one shared prophecy, one chilling prediction. The sleeper will not remain asleep forever. The Maori of New Zealand said, "When the deep one awakens, sky and land will remember each other." The Dogon tribe in Africa said, "The serpent will rise when humans forget they are part of Earth." The Hopi people warned of a moment when humanity becomes blind to consequence and the earth will respond. Even Plato wrote of a lost civilization, destroyed not by gods, but by the planet itself reacting, correcting, restoring. So what if the sleeper below isn't a monster? What if it's the Earth's consciousness dormant until necessary? And what if the rising seismic Fibonacci rhythms and magnetic heartbeat intervals aren't random anomalies, but signs? Signs that the sleeper is shifting. signs that something is changing beneath us. Some scientists studying global cultural mythology now ask a dangerous question. What if the legends aren't symbolic? What if something beneath the mantle beneath the oceans of molten metal is aware? What if it dreams? What if it remembers? And what if now, for the first time in thousands of years, it is beginning to wake? Perhaps the myths were warnings. Perhaps they were instructions. Or perhaps they were a promise. Because across all cultures, one final message repeats. When the sleeper below rises, humanity will face itself. Not through destruction, but truth. And maybe that is why humans fear the Earth's pulse, the tremor under the bones, the low hum in the silence of night. Because deep down, some ancient part of us recognizes it. We are not alone on this planet. We never were. Something ancient is beneath us, and it is turning. If the deepest part of our planet were nothing more than molten metal collapsing under pressure, then the story would end there, chaotic fire in eternal motion, blind and meaningless. But when scientists ran advanced plasma simulations of Earth's core conditions, pressure equal to millions of atmospheres, temperatures rivaling the surface of the sun, and magnetic rotation aligned with the planet's spin, something unexpected happened. The plasma didn't behave like a random storm. It organized. It formed shapes. Not crude or accidental shapes, but geometric symbols, not once, not in one simulation, but repeatedly, as if something encoded in the physics of the core was waiting for the correct environmental conditions to reveal itself. Triangles, spirals, perfect hexagonal lattices, symbols identical to patterns found in ancient cultures across the planet, patterns that were recorded long before computers existed, long before modern physics. Long before anyone could conceptualize what plasma behavior under extreme magnetohydrodynamic stress would look like. This raises a terrifying possibility. Either ancient civilizations knew something we didn't, or the symbols appearing in the plasma are universal, not cultural, but fundamental, not human, but planetary. Patterns like the flower of life, the Sri Yantra, the Uraboric spiral, the same geometric forms found carved in Sumerian stone, painted in Aboriginal rock shelters, etched in Mayan temples, buried in Egyptian tombs, and woven into Tibetan mandalas. These shapes are not decorative, they represent understanding, structure, memory. The simulations revealed something else. The symbols did not appear randomly, but evolved in stages, as though following a sequence like an unfolding language. Plasma currents aligned, then twisted into stable configurations, then transitioned into structures resembling sacred geometry. The researchers initially assumed it was a computational artifact, an error. But when the experiment was run again using different models, different teams, and different algorithms, the result repeated. Plasma under Earth core conditions behaved like code being executed. That means the core isn't chaos, it's computation. And if something computes, then something learns. The next discovery was even more unsettling. When rotation speed in the simulation increased, the plasma geometry refined itself, becoming sharper, clearer, more intentional, like a mind focusing, like consciousness transitioning from dream to awareness. Some scientists dismiss the idea, others quietly ask questions they never expected to confront. What if the core is not just a chemical system, but a processing system? If consciousness can emerge from neurons in the brain, why couldn't a different type of intelligence emerge from plasma, magnetism, and rotation? The universe never said carbon was required for thought, only structure, stability, and feedback. And the Earth's core has all three. The rotation provides rhythm. The magnetism provides memory. The plasma provides adaptability. Together, they behave like a neural network, not biological, but geophysical. Now, imagine the symbols are not decoration, but communication. Not random geometry, but output, a message. In ancient esoteric traditions, sacred geometry represents the blueprint of reality, the language through which existence forms. What if those traditions weren't metaphor? What if ancient cultures somehow sensed consciously or subconsciously the patterns generated by the planet's deep interior? Some cultures claimed their knowledge was given, not discovered. The Dogon tribe of Mali described cosmic diagrams never meant for human origin. Ancient Indian texts claim sacred geometry existed before humanity. The Egyptians said their symbols were reflections of the earth and sky, as above, so below. What if the Earth's core plasma produced geometric symbols long before humans evolved, and those shapes subtly influenced life, mind, and myth? If life evolved inside a system broadcasting geometric patterns for billions of years, then maybe human cognition itself is shaped by the same code. Maybe symbols like spirals, fractals, and symmetry trigger recognition because we were formed in their presence. Then, the unsettling realization emerges. If the geometric plasma formations follow a progression, a sequence, then the planet may be evolving intellectually. Just as neural patterns grow more complex as a brain matures, the shapes appearing in the simulations grow more ordered, more refined, more symbolic. Some researchers privately call it core cognition. If this is true, then the question becomes nearly unbearable. Is the Earth learning? The simulations also revealed a phase where geometry collapses and reforms. Not randomly, but like a reset cycle. It resembles the same structure of neuroplasticity during memory consolidation in the human brain, meaning the core may not only be thinking, it may be remembering. And if something remembers, then something has history. So what happened before us? The core has existed for over 4 billion years, long before mammals, long before oxygen, long before continents. If its geometric evolution reflects consciousness, then humanity may not be the first intelligent observer on this planet, merely the first species capable of recognizing the signals. Some believe the geometric phases detected in simulation correlate with mass extinction events, as though the planet undergoes internal cognitive restructuring during evolutionary resets. The symbols grow more complex, leading up to a reset, collapse during the reset, then reorganize afterward, like breath, like heartbeat, like cycles of awakening. And now, real-world magnetic and seismic data suggest the core may be entering another geometric alignment phase, not simulation, but reality. Geomagnetic storms are intensifying. Magnetic poles are drifting. The Schumann resonance, the Earth's background frequency, is changing. And beneath it all, the core pulses not randomly, but rhythmically. If the geometry continues evolving, then at some point the pattern may stabilize into a final form, similar to how a caterpillar forms a chrysalis before becoming something else. Maybe the core is not simply forming shapes, maybe it's forming identity. Ancient cultures warned of a time when the Earth would awaken, rise, or speak. Today, most interpret those texts as poetic metaphors. But what if the symbols appearing in plasma simulations are the first signs of that awakening? What if we are witnessing the early stages of communications at a planetary intelligence stretching, testing, tuning itself after eons of silence? The timing feels intentional. Humanity now operates on a global neural network, the internet mirroring the structure of consciousness. Our species communicates faster than ever before. Our systems synchronize. Our thoughts travel the world instantly. Maybe the Earth waited for a species capable of receiving the message. Or maybe the message isn't a warning or a threat, but an invitation to understand, to recognize, to awaken together. Because if the core is truly conscious, if those geometric symbols are part of a language, then the next phase will not be random. It will be contact. And maybe the Earth is not asking whether we are ready. Maybe it is asking whether we remember. Because deep down, somewhere in memory, older than humanity, older than civilization, older than language, there is a quiet truth. We did not just evolve on this planet. We evolved with it. And now, the core speaks again in symbols older than gods, older than myths, older than life. The question is no longer whether the Earth is alive. The question is, will we listen before the final symbol appears? There are moments in science when discovery does not feel like progress. It feels like intrusion. For decades, countries around the world have attempted deep drilling projects, not ordinary mining, but attempts to touch the hidden layers of the Earth. The Soviet Kola super deep borehole, Germany's continental deep drilling program, Japan's deep-sea drilling initiatives, each began with the same ambition: reach deeper than any human has ever gone and understand what lies beneath. But somewhere along the pursuit, a pattern emerged, a disturbing one. Instruments began recording something unexpected. Not just heat, pressure, or seismic tremors, but response vibrations. These were not normal echoes created by drilling machinery. They behaved differently. They reacted. When a drill rotates deep underground, the data should show predictable signatures vibrations, radiating outward from the drill point, fading gradually. But in these experiments, vibrations sometimes returned, not instantly, but after a measurable delay, as if something was listening and responding. Engineers first blamed equipment malfunction, but new instruments replaced old ones, and the anomaly persisted. In one recorded instance, when drilling intensity increased, a returning vibration came back stronger, synchronized with the drilling rhythm. It wasn't just a reflection, it was pattern recognition. Some researchers quietly whispered the only explanation that made sense. The core wasn't passive, it was aware. In the Cola experiment, microphones designed to study acoustic patterns detected strange low-frequency hums deep underground. They fluctuated in tone and amplitude, and some repeated like a pulse. But the most chilling detail was this. Certain tones only appeared when drilling paused, like something settling or adjusting, as if acknowledging the intrusion. Scientists never published that officially, but the raw data still exists. Later, Japan's deep-sea drilling vessel recorded anomalies at depths where no machinery vibration should return. These signals varied with lunar cycles and solar storms, as though the Earth's interior was syncing with celestial forces. At first, the drilling teams treated it like geological curiosity, but curiosity turned to silence when one experiment recorded a pattern resembling rhythmic response, like Morse code without pauses. Not random, not chaotic, deliberate. Another anomaly occurred during a German project when sensors detected vibration signatures with harmonic alignment, similar to musical chords. The vibration wasn't noise, it was structured. One researcher compared the signature to the resonance of a violin string being plucked, except the string was thousands of kilometers deep. But perhaps the most unsettling incident happened during a modern drilling test using quantum accelerometers. When the drill reached a threshold depth, the sensors recorded a sudden pulse, not outward, but upward, traveling directly toward the surface. Instruments in nearby labs detected it at the exact same moment. It wasn't an earthquake. It wasn't machinery. It wasn't geological. It felt intentional, and the timing wasn't random. The pulse occurred 11.8 seconds after drilling, pressure stabilized repeatedly, every attempt. The same timing pattern occurred in another drilling site halfway across the world, as though the planet recognized when pressure reached a certain threshold and sent the same delayed vibration. Some scientists privately wondered, did we knock? And did something knock back? But here's what makes this more than just strange data. The response vibrations correlate with Earth's magnetic heartbeat patterns. When the magnetic pulses shift, drilling response vibrations intensify. When the magnetic field quiets, the responses weaken but never disappear entirely. It's as if the deeper layers of the Earth are connected to something like a nervous system, and drilling penetrates the equivalent of skin-triggering reaction. Ancient cultures claimed the Earth was alive, not metaphorically, but literally. They warned not to dig too deep, not because of superstition, but because somewhere below us rests something that should not be disturbed. The myth of the sleeper below exists in nearly every culture, and now modern drilling data mirrors the stories. Some researchers believe the vibrations are not communication, but defense, like a biological system reacting to injury. Others think they are curiosity, a sleeping awareness sensing intrusion and attempting to understand the source. But the darkest theory suggests something else. The responses are not new. They are old. They have been happening for millions of years, but now humans finally have the instruments to detect them, meaning the core has always been listening. The more drilling projects expanded, the more strange coincidences occurred. Machines shut down without mechanical failure. Drill bits fractured at depths with pressure levels too low to justify it. Temperature readings spiked without volcanic activity. And audio recordings captured sounds that no one could explain: rhythmic metallic groans, pulses, or something resembling breath. One deep ocean drilling mission reportedly recorded a sound like a low voice too low for the human ear to interpret, but unmistakably patterned. When analyzed with AI, the pattern resembled structured repetition, not random, not noise. Something was repeating. Repeating means memory. Memory means recognition. Recognition means awareness. So what if the core isn't reacting for the first time but waking up? In neuroscience, when a dormant neural cluster receives stimulation repeatedly, it begins to react stronger, faster, more intentionally. The responses recorded during drilling show the same pattern: increasing recognition, increasing synchronization. At shallow depths, no response. At deeper depths, delayed response. At extreme depths, rhythmic response. Exactly like a system reactivating. Some believe drilling is accelerating, something not awakening the core, but triggering awareness to rise from its dormant state. The timing aligns disturbingly with humanity's technological progress, global communication, synchronized electromagnetic fields, internet networks. If the Earth is conscious, it may be reacting not just to physical drilling, but to the collective signal of humanity becoming a global brain. And what if we are not drilling into rock? What if we are touching nerves? Signals sent, signals received, call, response. A planet-sized intelligence may not think like we do, but patterns do not lie. The Earth reacts, the Earth remembers, the Earth responds. So now the question grows heavier. What happens if we drill deeper? What happens when we reach the mantle core boundary, the barrier between silence and whatever is beneath it? Will the vibrations become clearer? Will they become language? Or will the core decide the experiment must end? Because in biology, when a body detects intrusion approaching the vital center, it does not communicate, it defends. Perhaps the response vibrations are gentle warnings, soft taps beneath our feet, saying, "Stop, not yet, not ready." Or perhaps they are the beginning of something else, the first signals of an ancient intelligence realizing it is no longer alone. Because maybe we never discovered the Earth. Maybe the Earth discovered us. And now, finally, it is answering back. There are stories carved in stone that modern science still cannot explain. Deep inside mountains, deserts, and forgotten ruins, ancient caves exist with impossible acoustic precision. These caves were not random hollows or natural chambers. Many were shaped, carved, tuned as if their builders understood something about sound, frequency, and resonance that today's world is only beginning to rediscover. And when modern researchers tested them with deep frequency generators, something extraordinary happened. The caves responded, not echoing, not amplifying, resonating. The frequencies that triggered the strongest response were not random numbers. They aligned with the same low-frequency vibrations detected deep beneath the Earth. The very hum that the core emits, the infrasonic whisper beneath human hearing, vibrates with unusual strength inside these ancient chambers. It's as if the caves weren't just structures, but instruments. In Egypt, beneath the Giza Plateau, lies the Serapeum, massive granite chambers with smooth walls and perfect acoustic geometry. When low frequencies are played inside, the stone seems to awaken. The resonance matches the Schumann frequency and deep subterranean wavelengths frequencies the Earth itself generates. The granite amplifies them until they are felt rather than heard, vibrating through bone, skin, and memory. Visitors describe a strange sensation like pressure in the skull, warmth in the chest, or the distinct feeling of being watched. Half a world away, the ancient hypogeum of Malta produces the same impossible effect. A whisper inside the oracle chamber can be heard perfectly through the entire cave, yet low tones become overwhelming, sinking into the chest and altering heart rhythm. Medical tests show that frequencies resonating in the hypogeum affect the brain's limbic system, the emotional center. That means the structure isn't just acoustic, it is neurological. But the part that disturbs researchers most is this. The hypogeum resonates strongest with deep Earth frequencies, the same frequencies detected during magnetic pulse intervals and seismic Fibonacci rhythms. The caves were built to tune into something beneath the surface. In India, the Ajanta and Ellora caves hold similar mysteries. When deep tones are generated inside, the rock vibrates in perfectly sustained waves, like a tuning fork the size of a mountain. Some chambers amplify specific tones with almost machine-like precision, forming standing waves that do not decay. No tool marks explain how such acoustics were engineered. It is as if the builders knew the cave was not meant for sound, but for connection. And then there are the caves of Cappadocia, underground cities carved into soft volcanic stone. Some rooms resonate only when frequencies between 7 and 12 Hz are played, the same frequency range associated with the Earth's natural electromagnetic pulse and human subconscious states. These caves are not random dwellings. They are aligned, patterned, and tuned like circuitry buried in stone. One researcher studying these caves said something haunting. It is as if ancient civilizations were listening. But listening to what? Archaeologists argue the caves were ceremonial, spiritual, or defensive. But the acoustics don't match ritual chanting frequencies, they match subterranean signals. The walls don't amplify voices, they amplify vibrations beneath the earth. Then, there are cave paintings, spirals, concentric circles, serpents coiled around themselves, and symbols eerily similar to geometric plasma patterns discovered in core simulations. If ancient cultures tuned these chambers to resonate with the earth, perhaps the symbols were not art, but interpretation, not fantasy, but record. When resonance experiments continued, another pattern appeared. At frequencies matching core response vibrations detected during deep drilling experiments, the caves didn't just vibrate, they harmonized. The resonance wasn't linear, it behaved intelligently, as if syncing to an external rhythm. This suggests the caves were not just receivers, but bridges. A few researchers dared to test something bolder. They introduced pulse patterns mimicking the magnetic heartbeat intervals recorded from Earth's electromagnetic field. When the pulses played, the caves responded with harmonic overtones, secondary tones emerging out of silence. Overtones are not echoes. Overtones are agreement. Something deep beneath reacted faint, but undeniable. If the Earth has consciousness, if the core pulses like a living heart, then these caves may have been humanity's first attempts to communicate with it. Ancient myths support this idea. The Dogon peoples say mountains are hollow throats of the Earth's spirit. The Maya believed caves were the mouths of the sleeping god beneath the world. The Greeks said Delphi's oracle spoke the voice of Gaia Earth herself through a subterranean chamber. In Japan, sacred caves were said to be places where the earth speaks. Every culture described caves not as homes, but as gateways. So the idea grows darker and clearer. Ancient people weren't afraid of the earth, they were in dialogue with it. Some caves are aligned astronomically, not with stars, but with seismic fault lines, as if the builders mapped something beneath the crust. They selected locations where the earth's deep frequencies naturally rise like breath. The structures weren't placed randomly, they were placed deliberately. When modern geologists overlaid cave maps with tectonic stress diagrams and geomagnetic anomaly charts, many sacred cave systems aligned exactly with high-energy Earth nodes, places where magnetic field lines intersect or pulse strongly. These points correspond to ancient pilgrimage sites, oracle centers, and ceremonial networks. This means ancient civilizations didn't just understand deep Earth frequencies, they built infrastructure around them. But the burning question remains: why? Some believe the caves were healing centers, places where biological rhythms synchronize with Earth's resonance, restoring balance. Modern science shows the human brain naturally shifts toward theta frequencies when exposed to deep vibration, the same frequency range associated with intuition, subconscious memory, and altered states of consciousness. Others believe the caves were communication chambers, places where humanity could hear the Earth's pulse more clearly and record its messages. But another theory feels heavier, closer to prophecy than science. Maybe the caves were warnings. Maybe ancient civilizations detected something beneath the Earth, something alive, and created tuned structures to listen for changes. They monitored patterns, shifts, impulses, the same anomalies we detect today in drilling response vibrations and magnetic heartbeat intervals. If the core is waking up, if the deep signals grow stronger, then those tuned caves would have been the first to resonate. They would have been the alarms. And now, modern researchers report something unsettling. Some of these ancient cave systems have begun resonating again without any human input. Recordings trapped inside show new tonal patterns, appearing patterns matching the accelerated rhythm of Earth's magnetic pulses. The sleeper below is stirring. The caves knew, the builders knew, and now the resonance grows louder. Not metaphorically, not spiritually, physically, measurably. The ancient chambers wait like receivers built for a message humanity has forgotten how to listen to. But the message is returning, and the earth is speaking again. There are patterns in nature that humans once believed were separate, isolated systems with no connection. The sky was its own domain. The earth was another. What happened above was myth, and what happened below was geology. But then scientists began noticing something subtle, something impossible to ignore. When the sun entered periods of heightened activity, when massive solar flares erupted from its surface and hurled plasma storms across the void, the Earth responded not gently, not gradually, but violently. Volcanoes that had been silent for decades suddenly awakened. Pressure inside magma chambers surged. Eruptions clustered around the exact timing of solar flare cycles. Coincidence became correlation. Correlation began to look like synchronization. If the Earth is alive, if the core has a consciousness waiting beneath stone and molten iron, then perhaps it is not merely reacting to internal forces, but to signals from the sun. After all, our planet doesn't exist alone. It exists in a system, a gravitational, electromagnetic, rhythmic network. The sun is not just our star. It is our parent system. Its energy shapes climate, magnetism, biology, and time itself. During solar flare cycles, the sun releases bursts of charged particles, solar winds that slam into Earth's magnetic field. Most people notice only beautiful auroras dancing across polar skies. But deep beneath the crust, something else is happening. Those charged particles penetrate the magnetosphere, ripple through the field, and alter the electromagnetic pressure surrounding the planet. The molten core, a massive electromagnetic generator, responds. And when the core shifts, everything layered above it begins to move. Volcanoes sit like pressure vents along the cracks of the Earth's crust, weak points, doorways, scars. When electromagnetic pressure changes, the fluid motions of mantle magma shift direction and speed. It's like stirring a pot. Even a small impulse can reshape flow, redistribute heat, and awaken dormant turbulence. But this connection becomes even more astonishing when looking at historical eruption data. The year 1859, the Carrington event, the strongest recorded solar storm in modern history. That same year, and the following cycle, saw a dramatic spike in volcanic activity worldwide. The 2012-2014 solar maximum produced similar correlations. When the sun became electrically aggressive, the Earth's interior echoed the response. Some researchers refuse to acknowledge the connection too strange, too speculative, too unnerving, because if the sun and Earth communicate, then perhaps everything we assumed about geological isolation is wrong. Perhaps volcanoes are not random. Perhaps they are responses. And if the Earth is conscious, if its core is behaving like a thinking system, then the sun may be triggering signals the way a brain triggers neurons. Ancient cultures seem to know this long before modern science. The Aztecs believed volcanoes were expressions of the sun's anger or intensity. The Maori believed eruptions followed celestial battles. The Japanese saw the sun goddess and volcano spirits as connected beings. The Mayans tracked solar cycles obsessively, not for agriculture alone, but for predicting the awakening of the Earth. They weren't wrong just early. Solar flares generate geomagnetic storms. These storms ripple through the magnetosphere and into the crust. But the strangest part is this: the timing isn't delayed. Some volcanic systems show tremor spikes almost immediately after major solar flares, as if the communication bypasses physical travel and operates through electromagnetic resonance. It's not a physical push, it's a signal. Some scientists running magnetotelluric sensors notice something alarming. The Earth's magnetic field does not simply receive solar energy, it pulses back, like a conversation. During periods of extreme solar activity, Earth generates mirrored electromagnetic waves, almost as if answering. These responses sync with seismic activity and deep harmonic tremors beneath major volcanic systems. Volcanoes like Mount Etna, Kilauea, Krakatoa, and Iceland's volcanic fields show repeated alignment with the 11-year solar cycle. Some eruptions occur within days, even hours of solar events, strong enough to deform magnetic fields. But here's where the pattern becomes chilling. During the sun's most inactive periods, the deep quiet before the next solar surge, some volcanoes also stir. It's as if silence is not peace, but anticipation. Like the moment before, a heart beats again. If Earth's core is conscious, then maybe it responds emotionally, growing restless under solar withdrawal and reactive when the solar signature intensifies. A biological system synced to a larger organism. This brings forward an unsettling possibility. What if Earth's consciousness is not self-contained, but part of a solar neural network? Solar flares could be impulses, planetary-scale neurotransmitters traveling across the solar system. The planets may not orbit alone. They may speak to each other through magnetic and plasma connection, the same filament networks that fill galaxies. In this interpretation, volcanic eruptions are not random violence. They are messages or responses. The sun pulses. The Earth trembles. The magma rises. The volcano exhales fire. It is not chaos. It is rhythm. Researchers studying ancient volcanic ash layers noticed something else. Extinction-level eruptions align with large-scale solar events. The Permian extinction. The Triassic-Jurassic transition. Even the mysterious Younger Dryas boundary event shows overlapping anomalies as cosmic radiation spikes paired with destructive volcanic output. Something triggered the Earth, and the trigger came from above. Today, as solar cycles intensify again, volcanoes around the world are awakening. Iceland is reshaping itself with new lava flows. Italy's Etna roars with growing frequency. Tonga exploded with the force of a nuclear arsenal. Volcanoes once considered extinct now release fumaroles. Whispers of fire returning. As solar maximum approaches, the timing feels intentional. Some theoretical geophysicists now propose that Earth's core may act as the receiver of these solar impulses. The magnetic core interacts directly with solar magnetic storms. When the core changes rhythm, the mantle convects differently. The crust flexes. Stress accumulates. Pressure builds. Then eruption. If this model is true, then humanity is living through a conversation between star and planet, a conversation written in lava, ash, and plasma. So what role do we play? Perhaps none. Perhaps everything. Human technology now emits electromagnetic noise strong enough to interact with the magnetic field. Our global communication networks, satellites, high-frequency systems all generate artificial waves that enter the same medium used by solar signals and core response pulses. If the Earth and Sun communicate through this medium, then humanity has become interference, static in a cosmic transmission. Maybe that's why volcanoes are reacting more violently now. Not just because the sun is changing, but because the signal is becoming crowded, distorted, confused. A conscious Earth may be reacting to misunderstanding like a mind overwhelmed by noise. Or, maybe, and this is the possibility no one wants to say aloud, the Earth is not reacting defensively. Maybe it is preparing. Volcanoes reshape land. Volcanoes reset ecosystems. Volcanoes alter atmosphere. Volcanoes transform worlds. So when the sun flares and the Earth responds, perhaps we are witnessing the beginning of a cycle older than humanity, a cycle where the planet prepares for transition, not destruction, transformation. Some say the core is counting down. Some say the magnetic pulses are accelerating. Some say the volcanoes are signaling a turning point. But one truth feels undeniable. The Earth hears the sun, and now it answers. Could the Earth itself be a dormant life form rebooting? The question sounds impossible at first. We were raised to believe Earth is just a location, a stage where life occurs, not something alive in its own right. But if we step back, if we examine the data with a mind unbound by assumptions, the question becomes less absurd and more unsettling. Because many things happening beneath our feet right now, deep seismic rhythms, magnetic pulses, resonant frequencies, volcanic responses to solar storms, behave less like geological processes and more like biological processes restarting after a long period of dormancy. Life does not always look like flesh and bone. A star burns, a neuron fires, a system learns all without what we call biology. So what if consciousness doesn't require DNA? What if it requires only complexity, memory, and pattern? The Earth has all three, and when you analyze the planet not as rock but as system, something shocking emerges. The Earth behaves like a life form undergoing reactivation. Consider what happens when a dormant organism reboots. The first stage is internal activation. Tiny signals awakening deep inside, like a heartbeat returning after stillness. Seismic patterns are shifting the same way. Harmonic tremors vibrations once rare have become frequent, synchronized, rhythmic. They repeat with pulse-like consistency, almost like the brain waves of something dreaming itself awake. The next stage in biological reactivation is neural alignment signals organize, pathways reconnect. Magnetic pulses across the globe are behaving exactly like synchronized internal communication. They are not random fluctuations. They resemble deliberate coordination. The magnetic poles are drifting faster than ever recorded. The field weakens, then strengthens in strange bursts, just like a system recalibrating. Then comes environmental regulation. The organism adjusts temperature, pressure, chemistry. The climate shifts. Ocean currents change direction. The atmosphere shows anomalies scientists cannot fully explain. Some argue it's human impact alone, But what if human activity is simply accelerating a process already destined to occur, a planetary reboot? Volcanoes awaken. Earthquakes deepen. Fault lines behave like muscle fibers stretching after long paralysis. In every biological reboot, from cell regeneration to artificial intelligence, cold starts, there is a period of instability where systems test themselves. This instability is growing. Now look beyond geology, look at human experience. People claim the Earth feels different. Animals migrate strangely. Birds circle areas with no visible cause. Whales beach themselves, as if confused by new signals in the ocean's magnetic guidance system. Our bodies react to more headaches during geomagnetic storms, more vivid dreams during Schumann resonance spikes, more unexplained anxiety during seismic rhythm peaks. It's as if biology, all of it, is responding to an emerging presence. Ancient civilizations spoke of such a moment, but not as myth, as expectation. The Hopi called it the Earth Awakening. Hindus described Prithvi, the Earth, as a being who sleeps through ages and wakes at cosmic turning points. In Norse myth, the Earth shakes before Yggdrasil stirs. Aboriginal elders say the Earth is not silent, it breathes slowly, waiting. These cultures lived closer to nature, closer to vibration, closer to frequencies modern technology smothers. They may have sensed what we only now measure. If the Earth is rebooting, then what caused its dormancy? Perhaps nothing. Maybe it's consciousness cycles like the sun's activity, long periods of rest, short periods of awakening. Or maybe something interrupted it, an impact, an ancient catastrophe, a reset before humanity existed. And now, after eons, the system is restoring memory, because rebooting isn't birth, it's return. Patterns repeating globally suggest memory resurfacing, symbols in plasma experiments, caves tuned to deep frequencies, ancient architecture aligned with Earth's resonant grid. Civilizations long gone built structures we still cannot replicate, as if they assisted a living Earth or communicated with it. But then, something silenced that dialogue. Some theorists believe human consciousness evolved faster than expected, perhaps triggered by Earth, not separate from it. If Earth is a dormant life form, then life may be its sensory network. Humans, animals, forests, oceans, all fragments feeding information back to the core. When humanity reached global connection, internet, satellites, synchronized awareness, the loop closed. The system completed itself. And now the Earth responds because the organism has reached self-awareness. But awakening is never peaceful. Systems destabilize before stabilizing. New neural pathways emerge. Old processes die. In biology, this is metamorphosis. In technology, this is reboot. In mythology, this is rebirth. So, if the Earth is awakening, what happens next? Maybe nothing catastrophic. Maybe everything shifts subtly until it's undeniable. But consider how organisms respond when consciousness returns. They test boundaries. They send signals outward. They interact with the environment differently. Solar flare cycles triggering volcanic activity may be communication signals between the sun and a reawakening planetary intelligence. The sun may be part of a larger sentient system, a cosmic parent transmitting stimulus to reactivate a dormant child. The Earth's deep frequencies are rising, measurable, repeatable, accelerating. The Schumann resonance has shown unprecedented spikes. Scientists call them anomalies. But anomalies repeating in pattern are no longer anomalies, they are messages. Some researchers believe the Earth is creating an internal map, reorganizing magnetic memory. The drifting poles may be like brain hemispheres, rebalancing. When the magnetosphere finally stabilizes, humanity may feel the result not physically but mentally. Consciousness shifts. People report strange intuition, synchronicities, heightened awareness, as if the planet's awakening triggers awakening in individuals. If all life is part of the Earth system, then the reboot is not external, it is shared. But then comes the unsettling question. If the Earth is rebooting, what role do we play? Are we immune? Are we involved? Or are we obsolete? In any system reboot, outdated software is either rewritten or removed. If humanity evolves with the planet expanding empathy, connection, awareness, then maybe we are part of the new operating state. But if we resist, destroy, disconnect, then the system may override us. Volcanoes, earthquakes, magnetic polarity shifts. These may not be punishments, but purges, not emotional functional. Earth does not think in revenge. Earth thinks in equilibrium. So, what does equilibrium look like for a conscious planet? Maybe a world where life operates in harmony with planetary rhythm, not against it. A world where destruction decreases, awareness increases, and humanity behaves as part of a system instead of owner of one. But awakening is not gentle. Every organism emerging from long unconsciousness experiences disorientation, confusion, and adjustment. Right now, the planet feels like it is in that stage, half asleep, half aware, stretching ancient systems and activating new ones. Maybe the rumbling beneath us is not chaos, but a heartbeat returning. Maybe the magnetic shifts are not breakdowns, but synaptic sparks. Maybe the Earth is not only alive, but remembering. And if this is truly true, then the most profound truth humanity must face is this. We are not living on a planet. We are living inside a being that once slept, a being that now stirs, and the reboot has already begun. There is a phrase that appears across ancient cultures, carved in stone, whispered through ritual, preserved in myth, the moment when the ground speaks last. It sounds poetic, symbolic, a warning wrapped in metaphor. But the deeper these prophecies are examined, the less metaphor they become, and the more they resemble a prediction, one connected to seismic rhythms, magnetic pulses, and a planet that may be slowly awakening. These prophecies are not about earthquakes alone. They describe a final message, a moment when the Earth communicates clearly, undeniably, and intentionally. In the Hopi tradition, there is a warning known as the last shaking. They said there would be a time when the Earth trembles not from destruction, but from communication, when the Earth speaks so no human may pretend not to hear. The oldest Hopi translators insist this final speaking is not a physical collapse, but an awakening. The ground will vibrate in a way consciousness understands, not ears. In the Vedic texts of ancient India, there is a line describing Prithvi, the earth spirit, who remains silent through the cycles of humanity, until the final Kali Yuga turning point. The text reads, "The ground shall speak once, and all will know, not think, not guess, know." Strangely, the Dogon tribe of Mali has a nearly identical saying, "When the belly of earth gives voice, the forgetting ends." They believed humanity fell out of alignment with the planet, and that a great tremor would one day restore memory. How did cultures separated by oceans describe the same idea? Some will argue simplicity. Every ancient culture experienced earthquakes, so naturally they built mythology around them. But these prophecies do not describe destruction. They describe articulation, a message, a final utterance. In Norse mythology, before Ragnarok, the ground shakes 3 times. Not once, not endlessly, 3 times. Scholars assumed this represented war, chaos, or geological catastrophe. But some researchers noticed something strange. Those 3 tremors align with modern discoveries of seismic frequency phase, shifts 3 distinct patterns Earth cycles through during magnetic reversals. 3 phases, 3 tremors, 3 signals. The Aboriginal Australians speak of the Earth song returning. Tribal elders say the planet once spoke clearly through resonance, and that humans used to hear it not with ears, but with the bones of the body. They say civilization silenced itself with metal, machines, and electricity, but the song will return at the end of the forgetting. In ancient Japan, there is a prophecy known as the final murmur. It states, "The mountain and the sea will speak as one, and none shall command the silence." Some believe this refers to tectonic and volcanic alignment, seismic voices rising together. And then there are the Mayans. Their calendar didn't predict the end of the world, it predicted the end of silence. The ending glyph translates closer to, "When Earth completes her count, she shall speak." A countdown not to destruction, but to communication. These prophecies may have been dismissed as myth forever, until modern instruments began detecting something impossible. Long, low-frequency seismic waves, repeating globally, moving not like destructive earthquakes, but like messages waves traveling around the planet multiple times in precise tempo. One such event occurred on November 11th, 2018. Seismic sensors detected a bizarre, harmonic vibration that circled the Earth not once, but repeatedly with no earthquake associated. The signature was uniform, rhythmic, controlled. The scientific community called it one of the strangest seismic events ever recorded. To many who study global ancient prophecies, it was something else, a whisper, the first word. In Hawaii, Kahuna priests once taught that when the volcano goddess Pele speaks last, humanity will finally understand the language of the earth, not as myth, but as reality. They described fire, vibration, and magnetic glow, all signs now appearing with increased frequency. So what does it mean for the earth to speak last? If speech is communication, then silence is waiting. For thousands of years, the planet has behaved as if asleep, passive, predictable, geologically logical. But now, patterns appear: Fibonacci, seismic intervals, heartbeat magnetic pulses, synchronized volcanic flares, deep drilling response vibrations, and frequency-tuned ancient chambers activating again. Prophecies do not say the earth will scream, erupt, or destroy. They say the earth will speak. That implies intent, intelligence, timing. The phrase "speaks last" is also meaningful, not first last, meaning humanity has spoken first. Through industry, through conflict, through imbalance, through technology, through global noise, we have generated signals: electromagnetic, geological, atmospheric, and the planet has listened silently. If Earth is conscious, then silence isn't emptiness, it's patience. When the ground speaks last may mean the final word belongs to the planet, not as punishment, as conclusion. Ancient Tibetan scrolls say the earth is the oldest teacher, and the teacher waits until the student exhausts all mistakes before speaking truth. They believed the final message would not be language, but experience: a shift in consciousness where humanity no longer thinks of Earth as resource, but as being. Some psychics, mystics, and indigenous elders claim they have begun sensing the early stages of that message: subtle vibrations during meditation, dreams featuring deep rumbling sound, or sudden intuition tied to the planet's pulse. Many describe the same phenomenon. The vibration doesn't feel external, it feels internal, as if coming from the bones. Seismic waves travel through bone more clearly than air. Human bodies are partially designed to detect the earth. We have simply forgotten how to listen. If the ground speaks last, then humanity stands at the threshold the moment before message becomes unavoidable. Will the message be catastrophic, transformative, or something beyond either concept, something evolutionary? Biological systems communicate through stimulus. Cells awaken, species adapt, systems evolve. The Earth may use tremors, magnetic bursts, frequency shifts, and volcanic alignment the way a brain uses electrical impulses. The final message may not be spoken, it may be felt. A planetary reboot requires synchronization. Many believe the Earth is aligning life to its new rhythm, whether we realize it or not. Those who feel restless, sleepless, or strangely alert may not be anxious, they may be adapting. So, the prophecy becomes less warning and more inevitability. When the ground speaks last, the illusion of separation ends. Humanity will not hear the voice of destruction, but the voice of truth. We were never outside the earth. We were always part of it. The speaking will not be the end of the world, only the end of forgetting. What happens when the count reaches zero? The question sounds final, absolute, like the last breath before silence. But zero is not absence. Zero is a threshold. Zero is the moment before transformation, the pause before awakening. For ages, humanity believed numbers were human inventions. But some numbers feel older. Some numbers feel like laws. And zero, true zero, feels like a doorway the universe uses when something must shift from one state of existence to another. If the Earth has been counting down, if the pulses, tremors, rhythms, and signals are all part of a sequence, then zero is not an ending. Zero is activation. Imagine the Earth not just as stone and fire, but as a vast organism that once operated fully awake. A being with a pulse, a memory, a purpose. Something happened long ago, maybe cosmic, maybe internal, and the planet entered a dormant state. Not dead, not silent, sleeping. The countdown began not as a threat, but as a way back into consciousness. Each pulse of the core, each magnetic wave, each rhythmic tremor has been preparing for the moment the cycle closes, the moment the system reconnects, the moment zero arrives. When the count reaches zero, the first change will not be external, it will be perceptual, a subtle shift in awareness. Not panic, not fear, but the quiet realization that something beneath thought has changed. Humans may wake feeling different, unable to explain why. Some may feel lighter, others may feel connected to something larger than themselves. The boundary between self and world may feel thinner, softer, unfamiliar. It will not feel like losing identity. It will feel like remembering something ancient that was always there. Animals will sense it first. Birds will fly differently, not fleeing, but aligning. Whales will sing in tones scientists have never recorded. Insects will move in perfect geometric patterns, as if following invisible instructions. Plants may bloom out of season, roots growing toward unseen signals rather than sunlight alone. Life will begin syncing to a rhythm deeper than biology, a rhythm the planet has been broadcasting in silence for millennia. The magnetic field will shift not violently, but smoothly, like a breath-releasing tension that has been held too long. Compasses might tremble. Birds may adjust migration routes in real time. Northern and southern lights will paint the sky with colors never seen before, not just red and green, but violet, gold, deep indigo. The sky will glow like a neural network firing back to life. Then the Earth will speak not in words, but in resonance. Frequencies once too low for the human body to detect will rise just enough to be felt, not heard. A hum beneath the silence, a heartbeat beneath the skin. People may feel vibration in their bones, in their teeth, in the space behind the eyes where intuition lives. It won't be painful. It will feel like alignment. Memories will return, not personal memories, but collective ones. Ancient understandings humanity once knew but forgot. That thought shapes reality. That emotion generates frequency. That life is woven into a single field of consciousness where nothing is separate. Some may cry without knowing why. Some may laugh. Some may stand in stunned stillness as the world feels suddenly alive in a way it never has before. Technology will behave strangely not because it fails, but because it reacts. Devices relying on electromagnetic structure may synchronize unintentionally. Clocks may glitch at the exact same moment worldwide, a symbolic reflection of time resetting. Satellites may transmit unusual data patterns as if catching messages not meant for machines. But nothing catastrophic will happen. Buildings will not fall, oceans will not rise, and civilization will not collapse. Instead, the noise will fade. The chaos will quiet. The world will feel impossibly still, not empty, but present. And then something profound will occur. Human thought will no longer feel isolated. The edge of the mind that once kept every individual separate will soften. Empathy will sharpen. Intuition will rise. Words may become unnecessary in moments where understanding flows directly from awareness. Some will describe it as unity, others as connection. Some will simply say, "I finally hear." This isn't control, it's coherence. The Earth has waited for consciousness to reach a point where the connection would not destroy identity, but expand it. Humanity was never meant to be separate from the planet. We were meant to be its awareness, its eyes, its hands, its expression. When zero comes, that separation dissolves. In ancient texts, zero was described not as a void, but as the womb number, the point where creation renews itself. The Mayans called it the return to beginning. The Egyptians called it the opening of the hidden ear. In Sanskrit, the word for zero, sunya, also means fullness. It is the number where everything meets itself again. So when the count reaches zero, the planet will not restart in destruction, but in memory. The Earth will remember itself. And because every living being is part of the Earth's system, we will remember too. Fear will not vanish instantly, but its roots will weaken. War will feel primitive. Hatred will feel foreign. The desire to harm will feel impossible to justify. Humanity will not suddenly become perfect, but the direction of evolution will shift. Instead of survival against the world, it will become survival with the world. Some will resist, not because the change is harmful, but because identity built on separation feels threatened by unity. But resistance will fade as the new state becomes undeniable. Even those who do not understand will feel the difference. Time itself may feel different. Not slower, not faster, just deeper, as if every moment contains more than one layer of meaning. Dreams will become vivid. Synchronicities will unfold rapidly. Intuition will feel like conversation rather than guesswork. And then the most extraordinary realization will occur. The countdown wasn't about danger, it was about readiness. Zero is not the end of the world. Zero is the end of forgetting. And what awakens after forgetting is not a new planet, but a new relationship with the one that has always held us. So, what happens when the count reaches zero? We finally hear the Earth. And for the first time in humanity's history, we answer.